What's going on, y'all? TheBrandonBrownson here with another episode of Theory Addict. First of all, I want to apologize for how long it's been since I've made the last one. I'm not going to make any excuses, just know that I'm working really hard to make sure that episodes come on a little more frequently. I'll be going into a little more detail about this on the next TBB Unscripted. Anyway, I'm hyped as fuck about the new Star Wars movie. So I figured a really good coming back episode would be Star Wars Part 2. Before I start, per usual, I've got a few things to say. First of all, unless otherwise noted, I did not come up with any of these theories. I found them all by combing through the internet, and I'll try to have links in the description so you can read them for yourselves if you'd like. Second, unless otherwise noted, I do not believe any of these theories. The point of this show is entertainment, not education. Last, I love a good debate in the comment section, but please, don't be a dick about it. Think of it this way, you're Obi-Wan, I'm Darth Vader, and if you're a dick, the block button is me cutting you in half. With that all said, let's jump right into it. Let's start off with a really goofy one. Ever think it's weird that the humans in Star Wars speak English? I do. For something that happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it sure is a weird coincidence for both of our universes to come up with English as a language. To me, that means one of these universes affected the other and gave English to them. And because we can trace where the English language came from in the real world, well, that means our world came first. So, how long is a long time ago? It could be shorter than we think. In 2004, Dark Horse produced Into the Great Unknown, a story for a comic series called Star Wars Tales. In the story, Han and Chewie are on the run from Imperial attackers and crash land on Earth after going into hyperspace. Han is then killed by Native Americans. Fucking seriously, look this shit up. And the comic flashes forward 126 years. Where Indiana Jones is inspecting Han Solo's skeleton while searching for Sasquatch, aka Chewie, with a teenage short round. Yes, I'm still serious, look this shit up. Well, the story is definitely not canon, it's the only link between Star Wars and Earth in the licensed Star Wars media. It also really does fit because we know that Star Wars and Indiana Jones share a universe due to R2-D2 and C-3PO showing up in the hieroglyphics in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, if you take into account this story with Indiana Jones's timeline, A New Hope takes place around 1804, about 30 years after the American Revolution. Weird, huh? Anyways, this timeline states that the earliest human-related event in Star Wars is the birth of Qui-gon Jinn in 1712, Emperor Palpatine being born 10 years later on Naboo. So sometime before then, English must have somehow been integrated into the Star Wars universe from our own. But how? Well, that brings me to the Roanoke Colony. The Roanoke Colony, also known as the Lost Colony, was a group of 115 colonists who mysteriously disappeared from the Chesapeake Bay in 1587. The missing colonists included Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. According to John White, the governor of the colony, he returned to find it completely abandoned with the exception of a skeleton, which could have been the remains of an English garrison. What kind of weapon leaves skeletal remains behind? That's right, this is officially the stupidest thing you've ever heard. This theory proposes that in 1587, what we know as aliens abducted the Roanoke colony for unknown reasons. And these people, their descendants, and their language all were integrated into the far ends of the universe over time. Like I said, we're starting off with a fucking goofy one. We all know that, at least for a little while, Darth Vader was a bad guy. We also know that in Vader's final moments, he decided to turn from the dark side to help Luke kill the Emperor. But what if Darth Vader actually turned back to the light side during his meeting with Luke on Endor? Vader knew that Luke's meeting with the Emperor was inevitable, but it would be the only way to defeat the Emperor. Otherwise, he might have told Luke while speaking with him on Endor. Vader knew that if Luke killed him, his journey to the dark side would be complete. But Luke killing the Emperor would complete the same journey. The Emperor repeatedly taunts Luke as the battle unfolds, which eventually causes Luke to lose control. Had Vader still been corrupted by the dark side of the Force, he would have let Luke kill the Emperor, and thus would have taken his place, while Luke would become his apprentice. But instead, he blocks Luke's killing blow. Then he proceeds to goad Luke into releasing his anger while they fight. He could see Luke was still pure and the light side was still very strong with him, so Vader knows that Luke would eventually come to his senses and stop himself from killing the Emperor, or Darth Vader. So, part 1 of Vader's plan is complete. Luke defeats him in combat and proves himself worthy of being a Jedi. Now Vader needs to kill the Emperor, but being weakened from the fight needs to wait until the Emperor was near the elevator shaft. This was a risky gamble, but Vader had faith that Luke could survive the Emperor's Force Lightning. So Vader had to wait until the Emperor made his way closer to Luke. In the film, you see Vader look at Luke while he's being electrocuted, then look back at the Emperor a few times. This was not because he was conflicted, but rather because he needed to make sure the Emperor's attention was fully on Luke and killing Luke. Thus, when Vader mustered all the strength to throw the Emperor down the elevator shaft, the Emperor would not see it coming and would be helpless to defend himself. So, when he tells Luke that he's already saved him when he was dying, he was really referring to their conversation back on Endor. This is gonna be a super quick one, but it was way too cool not to talk about. We all know that Luke Skywalker is going to be in Star Wars Episode 7, but what's his role going to be? What's gonna happen with him? Well, if you look at some of the events that happened in previous films, things don't look particularly good for him. Especially if he's the one to train this new batch of Jedis. In Star Wars Episode 1, Qui-gon Jinn dies at the hands of Darth Maul while assisting his protege, Obi-Wan Kenobi. In Star Wars Episode 4, Obi-Wan Kenobi dies while buying time for his protege, Luke Skywalker, and his friends at the hands of Darth Vader. Both of these films were the first in their respective trilogies. So, using this sequence of events, we can make a safe guess that Luke Skywalker will die at the hands of the film's Sith villain while defending his protege, or proteges, whoever they may be. Poor Luke. If you scroll through Wikipedia, you can find out some really cool stuff about Mace Windu. For example, he earned the rank of Master pretty quick, which shows that he can control his feelings pretty well. You'll discover that he was the youngest person that ever joined the Jedi Council. You'll find out that the reason his lightsaber is purple is because he saw the saber in his dreams and worked his ass off to make the lightsaber. You'll find out that he has a pretty special ability to see the shatter points in the Force to see how his actions affect the future, which helped him to become one of the most skilled swordsmen in the Jedi Order. However, you'll also discover a really big flaw of his. He's way more arrogant than most of the Jedi. When Qui-Gon Jinn is talking about Anakin and his abilities to the Council, Windu is really doubtful. Windu seems to not want to believe that some boy from Tatooine, the unwashed asshole of the galaxy, could be the chosen one of the prophecy. Well, this theory ultimately states that Mace Windu thought that he was the chosen one. Think about it, he's the most capable warrior in the Order, his lightsaber is unique, and he has a unique ability in the Force itself. It would have been rather logical to believe that. In Revenge of the Sith, everybody talks about Anakin and his destiny like it would be a fact. However, when Anakin finds out the identity of the mysterious Sith Lord, Windu doesn't trust Anakin and doesn't even want him to help in the arresting. After he defeated Palpatine, Windu says that he's going to end this once and for all. He should have asked Anakin to finish Palpatine off, like in the prophecies, but he thought that he was the chosen one to finish off Palpatine. After Windu's death, Anakin truly regrets his decision and he slowly turns to the dark side. If Windu had taken Anakin with him to arrest Palpatine, and he could have seen the massacre of the other Jedi Masters, he might not have turned to the dark side. Anakin always respected Windu's abilities, actions, and personality. He always wanted to impress Windu, but Windu was never able to like Anakin because of his jealousy. At the point where Anakin made his decision to choose between the light side and the dark side, and when he saw Windu try to steal his destiny, he made his final decision. Now, just to clarify, I'm not talking about their battle during Star Wars Episode 3. I'm referring to the one they had during A New Hope. Among the numerous lightsaber battles in the Star Wars films, the first one we see, the one between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, is almost kind of laughable. They tap swords and lightly spar, almost like two old friends dicking around rather than two enemies honestly trying to kill one another, but that would have totally missed the point. That's because this isn't a fight, it's a conversation. It's an attempt at communication under the guise of the Jedi-Sith protocol. See a Jedi? Draw a lightsaber. See a Sith? Draw a lightsaber. It was mandatory. In all actuality, the fight could have been over in a matter of seconds, with Vader absolutely dominating Obi-Wan quickly. But instead, they hold a lengthy conversation with one another. Vader gloated about his strength, and Obi-Wan tried to send a message of warning to Darth Vader. Obi-Wan also never planned to make it off the Death Star. His sacrifice was deliberate. He was meant to pass so he could become a stronger force to aid Luke, as well as to create the perfect distraction to keep Vader from focusing on the real problem, Luke and Leia escaping. Well folks, that about does it for this episode of Theory Addict. Real quickly, I want to remind you guys that I did not create these theories. I do not believe most of these theories. I say most of because that last theory actually sounds pretty legit. And if you're gonna leave a comment, don't be a dick about it. Now let me go ahead and get my plugs out of the way. If you guys want to help monetarily support the channel so I can keep doing these, there's a few ways of doing that. You can pick up a t-shirt either at Redbubble or Spreadshirt, you can drop me a donation on my actual YouTube page, or you can choose to pick up one of my albums. I offer all of my music 100% for free, but if you want to pay for them, I'd appreciate that. Make sure to check out Michigan Wrestling Organization and Imperial Wrestling Entertainment, the wrestling companies that I work for. Check out all the other channels down there in the description. Follow me on all the social media sites, but hey, most importantly, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. The Brandon Brownson, signing out.